ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhagavad Pravaha online course on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So far we covered the first 49 chapters of the 10th canto, and today we will discuss the 50th chapter and up to 55th chapter. So in the previous episodes we have seen how Krishna came from Vrindavan to Mathura and killed Kamsa. So when Kamsa was killed by Krishna, Kamsa's two wives Asti and Prapti went to their father Jarasandha in Magadha kingdom. And Jarasandha, being very affectionate towards his daughters Asti and Prapti, and being so upset with the death of his son-in-law Kamsa, he wanted to attack Mathura. He wanted to kill Krishna and Balaram. So he gathered 23 Akshohinis of armies and came to Mathura and attacked Mathura from all sides. So now Krishna and Balaram had to face so many armies. So far Krishna killed so many demons, and most of them are like one-to-one combats. But now Krishna and Balaram had to face so many armies, thousands of people. So 23 Akshohinis of armies were accompanying Jarasandha. One Akshohini of army includes 21,870 chariots driven by great warriors, and 21,870 elephants, and 1,09,350 soldiers, and 65,610 horses are there. So these many people together are one Akshohini. Like the 23 Akshohinis of armies gathered together to support Jarasandha, and naturally all these people are like miscreants who were supporting another great miscreant, Jarasandha. So Krishna considered, when Jarasandha attacked Mathura, Krishna contemplated, I have descended on this earthly planet to reduce the burden of the earth, and now that burden of the earth in the form of all these miscreants and demoniac kings are coming right in front of my doorstep. So instead of me going to these miscreants and then killing them, so these miscreants are coming right in front of my house, and then now I can kill them. So Krishna considered that Jarasandha is assisting Krishna in his mission on this earthly planet. So Krishna became happy and he called Balaram, and Krishna invoked the presence of his celestial weapons. He meditated, and his Sudarshana Chakra, his Panchajanya conch shell, and a divine chariot, and a bow, and quivers, and Balaramji's club, and also the plow. So they all manifested there. So these are the divine weapons of the Supreme Lords Krishna and Balaram. So Krishna invoked the presence of these weapons and chariots and bows and arrows, and Krishna and Balaram picked up these weapons and boarded the chariot, and they were accompanied by a very small army, and they went outside the city to fight with Jarasandha. So Jarasandha was accompanied by 23 Akshohinis of armies, and Krishna and Balaram hardly had few soldiers with them. So Jarasandha started chastising Krishna and Balaram. So you are mere boys and you have no culture. You have killed your maternal uncle. I cannot speak to you, I cannot fight with you. Then Krishna and Balaram replied to Jarasandha. Krishna said, Oh Jarasandha, warriors on the battlefield don't just boast about themselves, and don't just waste their time speaking like this. So if you have real strength, you should fight with us. Then Jarasandha, being challenged like this challenged by these young boys, Jarasandha became very furious, and the fight began between Krishna Balaram and Jarasandha's armies. So in this great fight, Balaram and Krishna killed all the armies of Jarasandha. 23 Akshohinis of armies are completely smashed and destroyed by Krishna and Balaram. And at one point, Balaramji caught Jarasandha and he was about to kill Jarasandha. Then Krishna stopped Balaram. Balaramji, don't kill Jarasandha. Then Balaramji did not appreciate this advice, But later Krishna explained that this Jarasandha is bringing all kinds of miscreants right at our doorstep, so that we don't have to exert ourselves and kill all these demons, demoniac people. So let him gather. Now if we release him, if we leave him with life, then he will definitely come back with more armies to take revenge against us. So then we will get another opportunity to kill more miscreants. So let him go back. So we have defeated him, we don't have to kill him. So then Jarasandha was released by Balaram, and Jarasandha went back. He was defeated. So by the young boys he was defeated. Jarasandha felt so humiliated and ashamed. So next time he again brought Akshohinis of armies. Again he was accompanied by so many thousands and thousands of warriors and soldiers. And again he attacked Krishna and Balaram. Again Krishna and Balaram defeated and killed all these armies and defeated Jarasandha and left Jarasandha with life. So the scene on the battlefield was like rivers of blood started flowing, and arms, the hands of all these dead warriors were like snakes in this river, and elephants were like big islands, and dead horses were looking like crocodiles, and hands and thighs of the dead soldiers were looking like small fish, and the bows were looking like waves, and the weapons were like clumps of bushes, and chariot wheels were looking like whirlpools. So like that, the battlefield is compared to a bloody river. So in this way, Krishna and Balaram fought with Jarasandha's army 17 times. So 17 times there were battles. So many demons were killed. In this way, Krishna and Balaram reduced the burden of the earth. Then 18th time, Jarasandha again came to attack Krishna and Balaram. So at that time, another demon also came to attack Krishna and Balaram in Mathura. So that was Kalayavana. So Kalayavana was the king of Yavanas, and he had a great desire to fight with somebody who can match his strength. So he was trying to fight with so many people, and they were so weak in comparison to Kalayavana, and Kalayavana was effortlessly defeating them. So Kalayavana did not have that satisfaction of fighting with a proper warrior. So he had this great urge to fight with someone, that is called Yuddha Kanduti. So he wanted to Yuddha, he wanted to fight with someone who has real strength. Then once Narada Muni met Kalayavana and told, Kalayavana, you are actually looking for someone who can fight with you, who is a good match for you? I know one person, that is Krishna. So Krishna, who appeared in the Yadu dynasty, is a great warrior. So he killed Kamsa and he defeated Jarasandha 17 times. So now you can go and fight with Krishna and you can fulfill your desire. I am sure he will definitely give you a right match in fighting. Then Kalayavana became so happy. So he brought 30 millions of soldiers, 3 crores of soldiers were accompanying Kalayavana. So from one side, Kalayavana with his 3 crores of soldiers was attacking Mathura, and on another side, Jarasandha with his 23 Akshohinis of armies was attacking Mathura. So at two armies were simultaneously attacking Mathura. So Krishna became aware of this. So Krishna contemplated, how do we face these two armies at one time? So Krishna just meditated, and he wanted to erect another city, to shift all the Mathuravasis to the new city, so that the citizens of Mathura remain safe while Krishna and Balaram are dealing with these two demoniac people who came to fight with them. So Krishna immediately invoked the presence of Vishwakarma, and in the middle of the ocean, in the Kushasthali island, so Vishwakarma constructed a great city called Dwaraka. So that's the manifestation of Dwaraka city. So this Dwaraka city was filled with divine opulences and so many beautiful palaces made of marble, and with beautiful courtyards and gates and gardens and waterfalls and lakes, artificial lakes, and carved birds and animals, and so many celestial denizens of heaven. So they also came and offered several presentations to Krishna. on the occasion of Krishna's erecting this new city called Dwaraka, and Vishwakarma constructed it with great architecture. So in this way, Krishna erected Dwaraka city in the middle of the island and shifted all the Mathuravasis to Dwaraka. So, and in a very peculiar way he has done it. It is not that he has arranged so many vehicles to go there. So Krishna, when all these Mathuravasis were sleeping, they slept in Mathura, but when they got up, they found themselves in Dwaraka. So in this way, effortlessly Krishna shifted all of them with his mystic power. Krishna is the master of all mystic powers, so he can do such inconceivable activities very effortlessly. So now all the Mathuravasis are shifted to Dwaraka and no one is there in Mathura. And only Mathura city was there, empty city. And now Kalayavana and Jarasandha were trying to attack Mathura. So then Krishna came out of the Mathura city and he told Balaramji, you just guard this city. So Krishna came out of Mathura city and he started running away from that city. Then Kalayavana saw Krishna. So Kalayavana, who was coming close to Mathura city, he saw Krishna. Oh, this must be Krishna, because Narada Muni described the bodily features of Krishna in front of Kalayavana. So Krishna was looking so beautiful. He had bluish complexion and he had yellow dress and he's wearing a peacock feather. He has lotus eyes and he was looking so charming and captivating to all those people who are looking at him. So Krishna, he started running away from Kalayavana. Kalayavana saw Krishna, he was attracted. Oh Krishna, so please stay back, I want to fight with you. But Krishna started running away from Kalayavana. So Kalayavana thought that Narada Muni described this Krishna to be a great warrior and he defeated Jarasandha 17 times and he killed Kamsa and he did so many things. So he seemed to be a coward. So Kalayavana started speaking so many ill names and he started scolding and blaspheming Krishna. Krishna, why are you running away? I have come to fight with you and you are running away from me. Are you a coward? You are so afraid of fighting? Then why are you being called as warrior? So like that, Kalayavana started chasing Krishna while chastising Krishna. So then Krishna just paid no heed to Kalayavana's criticism, but he just ran away. So he went into a cave. So then Kalayavana also started following Krishna and he also entered a cave. So Krishna entered the cave and he was hiding in the cave. So Kalayavana also entered the cave and he saw one person sleeping there. So then Kalayavana thought Krishna must be sleeping here because he is so tired of running so fast. So Kalayavana wanted to wake up Krishna so that he can fight Krishna. So Kalayavana started kicking this person who is sleeping there and the person just got up from his sleep. And then he opened his eyes and he saw Kalayavana and Kalayavana was immediately burned to ashes within a moment. So then Krishna came in front of this person who was sleeping. So that person was actually Muchukunda. So Muchukunda was a great king in the Ikshvaku dynasty. He was the son of Mandhata. So we discussed about Ikshvaku's lineage and Mandhata's sons in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Muchukunda was the son of King Mandhata. And once the demigods needed some assistance from Muchukunda. So Muchukunda went and assisted the demigods in their fight. So then he was so tired, he was so exhausted. So he asked, the demigods were so pleased with the service of Muchukunda and they asked Muchukunda, what benediction you want? Then Muchukunda said, I just want to go to sleep. I'm so exhausted in this fighting, so let me sleep. Then the demigods gave a benediction that you can sleep very happily. So you can be relieved of all your exhaustion, and whoever disturbs your sleep will be burnt to ashes. So in this way, all the demigods blessed Muchukunda and Muchukunda was sleeping in that cave just to relieve himself of exhaustion. So he has been sleeping for a long time. The Supreme Lord Krishna wanted to wake up this devotee Muchukunda. So another reason why Krishna diverted Kalayavana to this cave was that this Kalayavana's dynasty had a benediction from Lord Shiva that no one from the Yadu dynasty could kill Kalayavana, could kill these people. So then Krishna, he wanted to respect the benediction of Shiva, so he himself did not want to kill Kalayavana. So he diverted Kalayavana to this Muchukunda's cave and made Muchukunda burn Kalayavana to ashes. So then Kalayavana, when he just got up from sleep and he saw this person burned to ashes, then he wondered. Then he saw Krishna. So then he asked Krishna, oh effulgent personality. Krishna at that time manifested his four-handed form. He was holding Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. He was in a bluish complexion, yellowish cloth. He was wearing a crown and he was having a peacock feather and he was decorated with Kaustubha Mani and Srivatsa mark. So he was looking so resplendent and Muchukunda was so astonished to see him. Oh Lord, who is this person who died because of my glance? So because of the fire emanating from my eyes, this person died. Then Krishna told, who is that person? He's Kalayavana. And Krishna introduced himself also. I am Krishna from the Yadu dynasty and you are Muchukunda from the Ikshvaku dynasty. Then Muchukunda recognized Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead and he offered heartfelt prayers to Krishna. He said, oh Lord, you are beyond time. You are not influenced by any material modes. So you are the creator, you are the maintainer, you are the destroyer. So I sincerely beg you for an opportunity to render service to you. So Muchukunda requested for the association of devotees. Several pure devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam, when they stand right in front of the Lord, they offer a prayer to the Lord, requesting the Lord for the association of devotees. Because in the association of devotees, we can perform devotional service nicely. So he says that Bhavapavargo Brahmato Yada Bhavet Janasya Tarhi Achyuta Satsamagamaha Satsangamo Yarhi Tadaiva Sadgatao Paravareshe Tvayi Jayate Matihi. Very beautiful prayer in which Muchukunda says that Bhavapavargo Brahmato Yada Bhavet. Oh Lord, although I am traveling from one material body to another material body in this ocean of material existence, still Janasya Tarhi Achyuta Sat Samagamat. Please give me the opportunity to associate with devotees. So devotees are called Sat. Sat Samagamat means associating with devotees. Sat Sangamo Yarhi Tadaiva Sadgatau. So only in the association of devotees you can traverse on the right path of devotional service. So I request you for the association of devotees. And in the next prayer, Muchukunda asks the Lord, Nakamayenyam tavapada sevanat akinchana prarthyatamādvaram vibho आराध्यकस्त्वां हि अपवर्गदं हरेर vrinit aryo varamatmabandhanat. So in this sloka he says, na kamaye anyam tava pada sevanat. I don't want anything other than service to your divine lotus feet. Na kamaye anya tava pada sevanat. I just want your pada sevana, your an opportunity to render service to your lotus feet, and I can effectively do it only in the association of devotees. Akinchana prarthyatamad varam vibho. So akinchana, I don't have any other desire. Prarthyatamad, that which is best prayer to offer to the Lord is an opportunity to render service to his lotus feet. So aradhyakastvam hi apavargadam harer. Oh Hari, you are apavargadam, means you can bestow liberation. But still, I don't want liberation. I want service to your lotus feet. So in this way, Atma Bandhanat, I can be relieved from all bondage of material existence and bondage towards this body only by serving you. So in this way, Muchukunda offered prayers to the Lord, and the Lord blessed Muchukunda, and then Muchukunda just came out of the cave and he traveled this universe. So in a very devotional contemplation. So in this way, Lord Krishna blessed Muchukunda, and that completes the 51st chapter. Now we enter the 52nd chapter. So Muchukunda actually went for a pilgrimage and he went to Badarikashram, and later, after Muchukunda departed, So Krishna went back to Mathura. So he went back to Mathura. Now Kalayavana got destroyed, but Kalayavana also brought 30 million soldiers. So Krishna single-handedly destroyed all these 30 million soldiers. He destroyed Kalayavana's army and he went to Mathura city. After going to Mathura city, then now another enemy, Jarasandha, is also coming with his army simultaneously. Now Krishna, together with Balaram, ran away from Mathura again. Earlier Krishna ran away from Mathura alone and Kalayavana chased him. Now Krishna came back and destroyed Kalayavana's army and he ran away from Mathura along with Balaram. So Jarasandha saw Krishna and Balaram running away. Jarasandha started chasing Krishna and Balaram. So then, as if afraid of Jarasandha, Krishna and Balaram ran away and they went on a big mountain called Pravasana and they climbed that mountain. And Jarasandha felt that, oh, these boys, this Krishna and Balaram were afraid of my army. 17 times they defeated me, but 18th time they understood my power. So now they are running away from me. So now they are somewhere on this mountain. Now it is difficult to search them. So then Jarasandha thought it wise to just burn the whole mountain to ashes. So he surrounded the entire mountain with his armies and instructed his armies to set fire to the mountain. So then all the soldiers of Jarasandha set fire to the mountain on all sides, and from such a great altitude, Krishna and Balaram just jumped from that mountain. And Balaram, then Jarasandha thought that, oh, Krishna and Balaram must have been burnt in this forest fire, in this fire that I created on this mountain. And he happily went back to his kingdom. So that's why Krishna, when he ran away, so he is also called Ranachor. So Krishna was Kshirchor, Krishna was Makhanchor in Vrindavan, and now Krishna is called Ranachor also because he ran away from battle. So although he defeated Jarasandha 17 times, in the 18th time he just ran away, just to externally exhibiting some fear of enemy. But Krishna just wanted to go to Dwaraka because all his associates are there in Dwaraka. So now only Krishna and Balaram are there in Mathura. Now they also wanted to go to Dwaraka. So now Jarasandha, just in his illusion, he thought that he had killed Krishna and Balaram and he happily went back, and Krishna and Balaram went to Dwaraka city, so in the middle of the ocean. So then after this, Sukadeva Goswami described the marriage ceremony of Balaramji. So we discussed in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that a king named Kakudmi. So Kakudmi went to Brahma to ask Brahma's suggestion about his son-in-law. So his daughter Revati had to be married, and Brahmaji suggested that by the time you were waiting for me, so many yugas have passed on this earthly planet. Now Balaramji is there, you can offer your daughter Revati in marriage to Balaram. Then Balaramji married Revati. That incident has been described again here. And later, Sukadeva Goswami describes Krishna's marriages. So the first queen of Krishna was Rukmini, and Sukadeva Goswami describes Rukmini's marriage. So Rukmini was the daughter of a great king named Bhishmaka. So Bhishmaka had 5 sons and 1 beautiful daughter. So the eldest son was Rukmi, and this Rukmi wanted Rukmini to marry Shishupal. And Shishupal was a very demoniac person. He was always envious of Krishna, and Rukmi had a friendship with Shishupal. So Rukmi wanted Rukmini to get married to Shishupal. Although Bhishmaka was not so excited with this proposal because of his affection towards Rukmi, he agreed. But Rukmini never wanted to marry Shishupal because so many sages, including Narada Muni, would come to Bhishmaka's palace, and they always spoke about Krishna and Krishna's qualities and activities to Rukmini. So Rukmini just heard about Krishna's qualities and she has offered her heart to Krishna. So Rukmini desired to marry only Krishna and no one else on the planet. So Rukmini was against Rukmi's desire to get married to Shishupal. But Rukmi was very forceful, and she forced Rukmini to marry Shishupal, and he already began arrangements for the marriage of Rukmini with Shishupal. So then Rukmini became so desperate, and she called for a Brahmana confidentially, and she wrote a love letter and gave it to that Brahmana and requested that Brahmana, please take this letter to Lord Krishna in Dwaraka Dham and show this letter to Krishna. So Krishna, being kind towards me, would come and take me back and make me his wife. So with this desire, Rukmini had sent this letter to Krishna, and this Brahmana went to Dwaraka city and then met Krishna. So because Krishna is very respectful to the Brahmanas, so this Brahmana was very cordially invited by Krishna at Dwaraka Dham, and Krishna inquired about this Brahmana's welfare. So when a Brahmana is completely satisfied at heart, when a Brahmana is being properly maintained by his rulers, the kings, then a Brahmana is happy in all respects and he can focus on his dharmic activities. So Krishna inquired from this Brahmana, are you happy? Are you faring well? Is your ruler, is your king taking good care of you? So, he also glorified Brahmanas and he worshipped this Brahmana. And then Brahmana became very happy with the hospitality and the respectful treatment given by Krishna. Then Krishna asked Brahmana, my dear Brahmana, why have you come all the way from your place Kundinapur? You have come to Dwaraka, crossing this ocean. So what was the reason of your coming to my palace? Then this Brahmana said, King Bhishmaka's daughter Rukmini has given her heart to you. My dear Krishna, if you so desire, can you please come and protect Rukmini? Because Rukmi wanted to give his sister in marriage to Shishupal, and Rukmini does not like, and Rukmini had sent this beautiful letter to you. So can I, with your permission, I would like to read this letter. Then Krishna started hearing the letter of Rukmini as read by this Brahmana. So this the first shloka in that letter was Shritva gunan bhavana sundara srinvatam te nirvishya karna vivarair haratongatapam rupam drisham drishimatam akhilarthalabham tvayachyuta vishati chittamapatrapam me. So Srutva gunan bhavana sundara srinvatam te. Rukmini is saying, oh Bhavana Sundara, oh most handsome person in the entire universe. Shrutva Gunan, I have heard about your divine, inconceivable qualities. Shrutva Gunan Bhavana Sundara Srunvatamte. What is the effect of hearing Krishna's pastimes and Krishna's qualities? Nirvishta Karna Vivaraihi Haratongatapam. Whenever the descriptions of Krishna's qualities and activities enter the ear holes of a sincere hearer, Harato Angatapam, all the distresses of body are completely vanquished. Krishna Katha can destroy all kinds of distresses. That this message has been repeatedly given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Rupam Drusham, what to speak of hearing about Krishna, and not only about hearing about Krishna, Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilarthalabham. By seeing the beautiful form of Krishna, the eyes become completely satisfied, and the eyes actually attain their perfection by seeing Krishna's beautiful form. The Dwarkavasis always see Krishna. Nityam nirikshamananam yadapi dwarakaukasham navitrupyanti hidrishaha shriyo dhamangamachutam. Although the Dwarkavasis are accustomed to see Krishna regularly, still, na vitrupyanti hidrishaha. Their eyes are never satiated. Why? Because Shriyo Dhamangam Achyutam. Achyutas angas are dhams of all Shris, means Lord Krishna's bodily limbs are the abodes of all opulences. So when the abode of all opulences, when the collection of all beauty, Sarva Saundarya Sangraham, Krishna is walking in front of our eyes, what else could be a better scene than this? So here Rukmini is also saying that Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilarthalabham, the person who sees your form attains all his desires are completely fulfilled. And even the gopis of Vrindavan also said, right in the first shloka of Venu Gita, Akshanvatam phalamidam naparam vidabaha. There is no other purpose for having eyes other than to see Krishna as he is playing flute and entering the forest of Vrindavan along with the cows and calves and gopas. So, Tvayachyuta vishati chittam apatrapam me, my shameless consciousness, my shameless mind has completely been attracted to you, to your form and to your qualities, Krishna. So, Rukmini did not see Krishna, but she aspired to see Krishna. Rukmini only heard about the qualities of Krishna and began to desire to see Krishna, and not only to see Krishna, to become Krishna's maid servant, Krishna's wife. So she's requesting Krishna like this. And she said that, my dear Krishna, being a Kshatriya girl, Rukmini understands the whole political situation there. So Krishna, my request to you, please don't consider me shameless that I have very boldly and courageously have written a letter to you. And in this letter, not only there is description of Krishna's beauty and form, and Rukmini also expressed her desire, I want to become your wife, so you please come to Kundinapur, Vidarbha, and then kidnap me, and you marry me in Rakshasa style. She even gave full perfect plan also. And she also said, Krishna, it's a custom in our culture that the girl who is getting married, so she would be visiting Durga temple, Ambika temple. So I will be going to Durga temple. At that time you can come on your chariot and then you can easily kidnap me. So she even gave a perfect plan for kidnapping also, and marry me in Rakshasa style. So when the boy goes to the girl and kidnaps her and then marries her, that is called Rakshasa style of marriage. All these are not allowed in Kali Yuga, but Kshatriyas in the previous yugas can marry girls like that. So now Rukmini proposed this plan also. And then she was internally feeling that maybe Krishna would think that I am shameless in proposing like this. I am being too bold. But nevertheless, without Krishna I cannot live, and also I cannot marry anyone else other than Krishna. So how can I marry Shishupal, who was like a wolf or a fox in front of Krishna? So how can a fox take away the share of the king of all animals, lion? Krishna is like a lion. So Rukmini said finally in her letter, Yasyangri pankaja rajahasnapanam mahanto vanchantyumapatir ivatmatamopahantyaihi yarhyambujaksha nalabhet bhavat prasadam jahyamatsun vratakrishan shatajanma bhisyat. She said, Yasyangri pankaja rajaha snapanam mahanto. So Angri rajaha means the dust from the lotus feet of Krishna is held on the head by great exalted personalities also. So Krishna's foot dust is so purifying to everyone, and now I want to offer myself and take shelter of the divine lotus feet. Krishna, please come and protect me. So please come and take me. So in this way Rukmini gave a kidnap plan to Krishna, and Krishna read this letter and she understood the heart of Rukmini, and he told that Brahmana who brought that letter, my dear Brahmana, I also heard about Rukmini. I am also thinking about her. I am also meditating on her qualities. I am also eager to accept her as my first queen. So I will definitely come with you. So Krishna mounted a chariot and he took the Brahmana also along with him on his own chariot, and then he started to Kundinapur. And Balaramji came to know this. And Balaramji thought that Krishna went alone. So let me also go along with Krishna. And then Balaramji went behind Krishna. So Krishna went very fast with the Brahmana, and then Balaramji also came behind Krishna along with few other companions. So then Krishna and Balaram reached this Kundinapur, that is Vidarbha kingdom. And in this Kundinapur, all arrangements were being made for Rukmini's marriage with Shishupal. So Rukmi is very determined to give his sister in marriage to Shishupal. But all the citizens of this Kundinapur, they were not very happy that Rukmini is getting married to Shishupal. And especially when they all saw Krishna coming to Kundinapur. So Krishna and Balaram came like guests. But Krishna had a plan to kidnap Rukmini Devi. And even Shishupala, who was also accompanied by Jarasandha and other such kings, so they thought that Krishna might come here and Krishna might take Rukmini away. So let us make our preparations. And Jarasandha, Shishupal and many other demoniac people, Rukmi, including Rukmi, so they all were prepared to fight against Krishna if Krishna does any mischief there. Krishna tries to kidnap Rukmini. So they all prepared. They expected that Krishna might do something. So then Krishna came, and Bhishmaka came forward and then received Krishna and Balaram so lovingly with great respect and reverence. And all the citizens of Kundinapur saw Krishna and they thought that this Krishna is the perfect match for our princess Rukmini. Because Rukmini is so beautiful and all the qualities of Rukmini would definitely match Krishna's qualities, and Rukmini is the right consort for Krishna and Krishna is the right husband for Rukmini. And who is this Shishupal in the middle? So Shishupal is not the qualified husband for Rukmini, and this is the opinion of all the citizens of Kundinapur also. But Rukmi was very adamant. So Krishna and Balaram were received so nicely by Bhishmaka, and Bhishmaka arranged for nice residence for Krishna and Balaram, and he also offered them different kinds of presentations. And then Jarasandha and Shishupal and many other associates, they were also accommodated nicely. Then meanwhile Rukmini was very anxious because Rukmini had sent a message through this Brahmana, and Brahmana did not come yet because Brahmana was coming along with Krishna. So Rukmini was very anxious. What happened? Why Brahmana has not yet come? And but the arrangements for my marriage are being made with great celebration. So now Brahmana did not come. What did Krishna think? Did Krishna reject my proposal? Did Krishna feel that I am being too bold in proposing like this? So did Krishna not accept my proposal? So Rukmini was very anxious and several thoughts were coming in her mind. Meanwhile, she saw the Brahmana. As you are seeing in that picture, Rukmini saw Brahmana coming towards her residence. Then Rukmini became so happy. Then the Brahmana came and then informed Rukmini that, my dear Rukmini, Krishna agreed to accept you as his first queen. You should not worry. Rukmini became so happy and her heart was filled with gratitude for this Brahmana who gave her such an auspicious good news. She could not offer anything to that Brahmana immediately. Out of her excitement, she just fell at the feet of this Brahmana and offered her obeisances. And that Brahmana with great satisfaction blessed Rukmini, who would be the consort of Krishna. And Rukmini was very happy. She was anticipating that at any moment I will be with Krishna now. So now the time, and Krishna and Balaram were being received by Bhishmaka and they were being treated very well in this Kundinapur. And the time for Rukmini to go to this Ambika's temple has come. So it's a custom that the bride would be taken to Ambika's temple, to Durga temple, and then she would be worshipping the Durga. So many women were surrounding Rukmini. Rukmini was decorated so nicely and she was taken to this temple of Durga, and so many people, so many kings saw Rukmini's beauty. She came out of the palace and she was going to the temple. So there at temple, so many other kings were there, so many warriors were there. They saw Rukmini's beauty and they were so attracted. They were so enchanted by her beauty. They never saw her before. So now Rukmini went inside the temple and she started offering worship to Durga. And she offered prayer to Durga. My dear Ambika, please make Krishna my husband. So definitely Rukmini was anticipating the arrival of Krishna at any moment, and Rukmini was waiting for it. So, and she was worshipping, and then she worshipped Durga and then just came out of the temple, and then Krishna came there on his divine chariot. So as all the citizens were looking at this enchanting scene, Krishna came there and picked up Rukmini effortlessly and placed her on his chariot and very swiftly just drove his chariot, and then he came out of that scene. And all the citizens were seeing that this is just like everything happened in just a few moments. So Krishna came there very swiftly and picked up Rukmini, and Rukmini was very eager to go with Krishna, and then Krishna just took her on the chariot and then he ran away from there on his chariot. So all the citizens of Vidarbha, they saw Krishna kidnapping Rukmini like this, and they started making sounds, and this news came to Jarasandha and Shishupal and Bhishmaka and Rukmi and all other people that Krishna is going away with Rukmini on his chariot, and his horses were very swift. So all the Yadus also accompanied, because when Krishna was taking away Rukmini Devi, Balaramji and many Yadus also accompanied Balaramji. So they wanted to assist Krishna in this kidnap plan. So Jarasandha and Shishupal and Rukmi, all these people took their armies and they started chasing Krishna. So Krishna was going towards Dwaraka from Kundinapur, and all these warriors were chasing Krishna, and they started showering Krishna with so many arrows. And Krishna very expertly smashed all their weapons into pieces, and then he broke their chariots and he killed their horses, and he killed their elephants, and he killed the soldiers, and all these weapons, he just destroyed those weapons, and all the warriors who were chasing Krishna, they were being defeated. And meanwhile Yadu armies also came, joined Krishna, and they also started killing the armies of Kundinapur, armies of Rukmi and Jarasandha and Shishupal. So now Rukmini saw this great war. She was just a tender girl who just came out of her palace, and Krishna kidnapped her. And then Rukmini was very happy to be with Krishna, but Rukmini also became a little anxious and became very little afraid of seeing so many armies and this sudden fight scene. So Krishna said that, my dear Rukmini, don't worry. Your armies will defeat these enemy armies. And Rukmini felt so happy, because these were Krishna's armies, and Krishna is saying that, Rukmini, these are your armies. Means Krishna has accepted Rukmini as his own. So Rukmini felt that Krishna accepted me as his queen, as his maid servant, and she felt so grateful. And Krishna reassured Rukmini and then started fighting with these warriors. And then while traveling on his chariot very swiftly, and Balaramji also started fighting with these people, and Yadu armies also started counteracting the opposing armies like Jarasandha and Shishupal. And at one point, all the armies were destroyed, and Jarasandha and Shishupal were defeated, and Shishupal was morose. So I was about to marry Rukmini, and this Krishna came and then kidnapped Rukmini. So then Jarasandha was so disappointed. Shishupal was disappointed. Then Jarasandha consoled Shishupal. Jarasandha was saying that, my dear Shishupal, victory and defeat are not in our hands. That they happen, we get victory or defeat by the will of providence. They are not in our hands. So look at me. I tried to fight with Krishna 17 times. And 17 times I was defeated. So now you are defeated once, so you should not feel so bad. So like that, Jarasandha started consoling Shishupal by quoting some philosophy of victory and defeat and detachment. So now time is favoring Krishna. So Krishna won this battle, and later time will favor us also. Then we can defeat Krishna also. You don't worry. So like that, Jarasandha consoled Shishupal, and he has taken Shishupal away. And meanwhile, Rukmi became so determined to get his sister back from Krishna. So Rukmi could not give up. So although Shishupal gave up, Jarasandha gave up, and all the other kings accompanying them, they gave up. But Rukmi did not want to give up. Rukmi continued to chase Krishna as if he is such a powerful warrior who can counteract Krishna's prowess. So Rukmi continued to chase Krishna, and Rukmi started speaking blasphemous words against Krishna. He said, Krishna, stay back. Why are you running away? Give my sister back to me. So then Krishna and Rukmi just picked up some weapon to fight with Krishna, and Krishna released an arrow and destroyed that weapon. He picked up a bow, Krishna destroyed that bow. He picked up a club, Krishna destroyed that club. So whichever weapon Rukmi was trying to pick up, so Krishna would smash it. And in this way, Krishna defeated Rukmi, and he captivated Rukmi, and he was about to kill Rukmi. Then Rukmini just fell at the feet of Krishna. Krishna, today is my marriage day, and please spare the life of my brother. So when Rukmini, with tears in her eyes, appealed to Krishna, Krishna became so compassionate and said that, Rukmini, I will not kill your brother, don't worry. So, but I have to honor him in some way. He is my brother-in-law now. So Krishna took his sword and gave a very peculiar haircut to Rukmi. He just shaved his head at different spots and left a little bit of hair here and there. And at that time, Balaramji joined there. So Balaramji came there and told Krishna, Krishna, you are not supposed to be doing like this. He is our family member now. He is the brother of your wife. So you are not supposed to behave like this. So like that, Balaramji mildly chastised Krishna just to console Rukmi, who was quite bewildered at that time. So she was confused. She was just kidnapped, and she just came out of this war. And she witnessed this war, and her brother was being insulted like this. So then Krishna spared the life of Rukmi, and then Balramji chastised Krishna mildly and consoled Rukmini, and Krishna took Rukmini to Dwaraka. And there in Dwaraka, in the midst of so many great members of Yadu dynasty, Krishna married Rukmini, and this is the first marriage of Krishna. So that is that's how Krishna's first marriage had happened. And after this, Krishna married so many other queens. Krishna had 16,108 queens, and Rukmini is the first queen. So after that, Krishna would marry Jambavati, Krishna would marry Satyabhama and 5 other princesses, and Krishna would kill Narakasur and marry all the 16,100 girls who were captivated by Narakasur there. And then in this way, Krishna had 16,108 queens. We will discuss his other marriages in the next episode. Now, after describing Krishna's marriage with Rukmini, Sukadeva Goswami describes immediately about Rukmini's son. So Rukmini's son was Pradyumna. So this is not in a chronological sequence, but just to complete that Rukmini's section, Sukadeva Goswami spoke about Rukmini's son also, Pradyumna. So entire history of Pradyumna was spoken in the 55th chapter of 10th canto. So Pradyumna looked exactly like Krishna. So as soon as Pradyumna was born to Rukmini, a great demon named Shambara kidnapped this little boy, Pradyumna. And then this demon took him away and then threw him in the ocean. In the ocean, a big fish swallowed this boy Pradyumna. Then there was a cook in the house of Samba, this demon, Shambara, this demon, and this cook was trying to make a preparation with fish by cutting a fish. So somehow the fish that swallowed Pradyumna ended up in the kitchen of Shambara demon. Then when this cook was trying to cut the fish, inside the belly of that fish, he found this beautiful boy Pradyumna. Pradyumna was exactly resembling Krishna in all respects. He had a bluish complexion, he has a beautiful lotus-like face. So seeing this beautiful child, this cook was very excited. And next to that cook, there was also another woman named Mayavati. So this Mayavati was actually the consort of Cupid. So earlier, once Cupid tried to distract Lord Shiva, but the Cupid was burnt to ashes because he was trying to disturb Shiva. So at that time, Cupid became bodiless. So Pradyumna is an incarnation of Cupid in one sense. Cupid is an expansion of Pradyumna. So these two are Kamadeva and Pradyumna were considered like one personality. So this Pradyumna, Pradyumna was Cupid only, who was again born as Rukmini's son. So now this Mayavati identified her husband now. So her husband took another birth, and he was in the form of a small child, son of Rukmini and Krishna, and he was found in this fish's body. And this Mayavati was staying in Shambara's house for some reason. So then she found that, oh, this is her husband only. So then this Mayavati raised this child, raised Pradyumna for a long time. And after he was grown up, Mayavati started showing her conjugal affection, conjugal feelings towards Pradyumna. And Pradyumna felt that, why you are behaving in this way? I have been seeing you since my childhood, but now you are manifesting different feelings. Then Mayavati told about their past life to Pradyumna. Pradyumna, you were actually Cupid. You were reborn as Pradyumna from these fishes, from Rukmini and Krishna. So then Mayavati understood. Mayavati revealed everything to Pradyumna. Then this Pradyumna and Mayavati come to Dwaraka. Then Pradyumna later kills Shambara demon, and then along with Mayavati, he came to Dwaraka. So in Dwaraka, everybody thought that Krishna has come there. So actually, Pradyumna, when he was grown up, he was exactly resembling Krishna, and all the ladies, they thought that Krishna has come there. And when Rukmini saw Pradyumna, who was exactly resembling Krishna, Rukmini spontaneously developed motherly affection, motherly feelings towards Pradyumna. She was thinking that if my son was alive, he would be exactly like this. So this young man was looking like my son only. So because as soon as Pradyumna was born, he was kidnapped by Shambara, and Rukmini did not see him. And now after a long time, after several years, Pradyumna became a young man, and then he is coming in front of Rukmini, and Rukmini was immediately overwhelmed with Vatsalya affection, overwhelmed with feelings of love, motherly love towards Pradyumna. Now Pradyumna came there along with his wife Mayavati. Then Narada Muni manifested there, and Narada Muni revealed the entire truth, how Pradyumna was kidnapped by Shambara, and how Pradyumna killed Shambara when he was grown up, and how Mayavati raised Pradyumna in this way while being in the kitchen of Shambara demon. So like that, the reunion of Pradyumna with the family of Yadus was like a very happy event for Rukmini and Krishna and all the Yadus. So that completes the history of Pradyumna also. So today we discussed how Krishna defeated Jarasandha 17 times, and how Krishna had Kalayavana killed through Muchukunda, and we have seen briefly the prayers of Muchukunda, and we have also seen how Krishna erected the Dwarka fort, and how Krishna shifted all the Mathuravasis to Dwarka city. And later we have also seen how Krishna and Balaram went on that great mountain called Pravasana, and then they jumped off that mountain cliff and entered Dwaraka again. We have briefly discussed Balaramji's marriage with Revati, and later we have seen how Rukmini gave her heart to Krishna and wrote a love letter to Krishna, and Krishna came and kidnapped Rukmini and married her. And we have also seen Krishna and Rukmini's son Pradyumna and his history. So thank you all very much. In the next episode, we will discuss the other marriages of Krishna, and especially we will discuss Shamantakamani episode and other episodes. So thank you all very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.